Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Alt Kings podcast. I'm your host, Tate, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Emrak from Altlantis, as well as Fugitives NFTs. How you doing today, Emrak?
I'm doing great, Tate. Thanks for having me here today.
It's very nice to have you. Been trying to make this in the works for a very long time, and I'm very
Well,
thankful that we're able to now be able to host you on the Alt Kings podcast. So I'd love to first start out with, who is Emrak and what is your vision behind Altlantis and what do you hope to achieve with this platform?
yeah, definitely. So I am Emrak. I come from the software development field. I am actually a solutions architect by trade. I've been doing that for a couple of decades. Before that, I was a programmer. And mainly, I've been working with Microsoft technologies, with enterprises, and building up complex systems. As that pertains to Altlantis, my mission here is basically to be a bit of a disruptor, to provide an alternative platform that actually isn't funded by any sort of VC money, keeping the energy, quote unquote, clean. And our objective, on top of it, is to empower creators in the Hedera space. Um, that is the purest of the vision, and the best way that I can probably encapsulate it without going on to a big rant like I normally would.
Yeah, definitely. I think that disruptor is a very good word to use for specifically HBAR and other various launch pads and marketplaces out there. As yourself being a launch pad, how do you see Atlantis being different compared to a launch pad kind of like Kabila and disrupting the scene in a sense, kind of like what you mentioned?
Yeah, definitely. Well, on Kabila, they're definitely the most comparative platform to Atlantis. And it's actually great that there is, something to compare and contrast against so that people can sort of make a determination on whether or not those platforms are, progressing at an appropriate rate, offering the right kinds of feature sets to the user base. Um, yeah, in terms of what makes us a little bit different from Kabila, I guess it would be the accessibility off the bat. Basically, in order to use our platform, all you need is a Hedera account and you're good to go. You don't have to buy into any special access passes or anything like that. You could pick up our FTL pass, which would give you 20% off of our fees,
Nice.
which start pretty low to begin with. And I'll give you an example. Our Launchpad percentage is 3.5 at a base rate. If you hold that FTL pass, then you're paying 2.8% as a seller, right? Regarding the other features on our site, such as minting, we are just our base rates. They are quite a bit cheaper than the Kabila rates. That was our platform decision, right? Like it's got nothing to do with, saying that the slightly higher price is wrong or something like that. It's just a matter of that was the path we took, slightly lower on the pricing, lower barrier to entry, right?
Definitely.
Facilitating access, making it available to as many people as we possibly could. That's probably the main
I think that's
disruption point.
great. And I think a great start there is, the lower fees compared to other traditional launch pads. And I think, lowering the fees, giving people more options to work with, as well as more accessibility at the end of the day, because fees can really destroy and make or break a lot of projects whenever they're launching and stuff. And it might not be necessarily the only factor, but it is sure a factor with how projects develop and progress as they, take on their journeys. I do have to give you credit. I just recently minted the Panda World Mint, and that went incredibly smooth. It was, a very smooth mint off of Atlantis's platform, and I just want to give you kudos for that. I think what you're doing over there, the user
Okay.
interface is absolutely clean, sleek, and beautiful in my eyes. And I really like the branding that goes about Atlantis also.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Tate. That means a lot actually, because we have put a lot of energy into that branding. We have put a lot of energy into making the experience different, right? I mean, what's the point of just copying exactly the same flow that people have been used to, the same kinds of interfaces and um, even option sets, right? In
Yeah,
terms of that experience. So we have been sort of pushing in these directions that we think are a bit different. Like one feature on the sales event page that we threw in just as an experiment was a music player, right?
nice.
And the first event that we featured in was the Fugitives event. So if you do explore the site and you find our event, you can actually experience that music player it just to sort of see what that's like. But yeah, there are a few other things we're working on layering in, and we'll have a bunch of it in this week. Some of it is in relation to the Panda World Mint that you brought up. There was a bit of feedback, right? We had a lot of Ethereum people coming into Hedera for the first time, so they had a good amount of input, and it was all great stuff. Um, so I'll give you an example of a few things that we are going to be rolling out this week. Firstly, implementing a live chat feature onto the
Nice.
sales event page. So the creator of the event, like they'll be able to chat throughout the entire event. And as people pick up NFTs from the event, they'll be able to participate in that chat as well. So that's something a bit different,
Yeah,
infusing that
that's very
social
different.
aspect.
Yeah.
And yeah, aside from that, like we're adding some um, friendly features for people who have bigger wallets, right? If they want to bulk purchase, they'll be able to do that. Um, and we put a lot of energy into making sure our iOS DApp connection experience is super smooth now. Unfortunately, there are a few challenges on the Apple stack, and yeah, they transcend all of the platforms. So we did go the extra mile over the weekend to add a number of checkpoints to resolve that. Um, yeah, it's just the start. We're in a continuous improvement mode. There is no end to what we're doing. It's just making it better and adding more features into it.
Definitely. I know you used to go by a different name rather than Altlantis. What was that name again by chance?
Yeah, we started out as HBAR Space,
Yes.
and that was over a year ago now. The reason that we actually ended up rebranding was really because we felt we were sort of being drowned out in the conversation. As when people were making references to HBAR spaces, right? They were talking about Twitter spaces.
Yeah.
And the more that came up and, just realizing that, oh, when people hear HBAR space, they're actually probably thinking of a Twitter space. That was a big driver. And it took us a bit to land on a new name. Altlantis kind of came out of nowhere, and it was a bit of an epiphany moment, and we fell in love with it internally as the team, and it's been great. Like the feedback on the name and the general, like the new look and feel of everything that we've been pushing out. It's been a great response so far.
Yeah, and I mean, I really love the name Altlantis because it does pair very well with the Alt Kings over here. And also, I mean, with Altlantis and that name and the marketing that you've done around it, you're not only specific, you don't necessarily only have to specifically focus on HBAR anymore compared to the HBAR space name. You could branch out to many other chains with Altlantis and also, accommodate their requests and their needs for specific Launchpad desires. And so I think it's really smart that you rebranded, and it really provides more of an expansive approach rather than just staying on Hedera Hashgraph's network. If I mean, at the end of the day, if you only want to stay HBAR, by all means, but that name does open up a lot more possibility of growth outside of Hedera Hashgraph, and that
You,
kind of leads.
yeah,
What was
no,
that?
for sure. No, you nailed it, Tate.
Yeah.
That's a big part of the vision, right?
Definitely. And it kind of leads into my next question. So, why did you choose to build Atlantis on Hedera Hashgraph's network initially?
Oh man, I'm right now. Hedera is all that I can think about. I have
Yeah.
zero interest in any other network right now. Um, Hedera was my first, like the first crypto network that I got involved with. Um, and there's a lot to be said for me, my personality type and loyalty. When I sort of fall in love with something, I fall in love with it completely. Um, not to say, as you were alluding to, that the door possibilities, it is open, right, for other things later on. Hedera will always be front and center for Altlantis.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah, man, there's too much about this DLT. But primarily, I mean, if we just break it down to the simplistic things, cost is a big part of it, of course.
Yep.
Um, you know, impact to the world in terms of environmental impacts, security, but community, man. The community is just something else on Hedera, and I've only recently started to be a voice, I guess, like speaking on spaces publicly to people and what have you. But I've been in the community since 2021. I've been listening in on spaces pretty consistently and regularly for that whole time. And, what people say is invaluable, right? Like the requirements are there. They're being dropped right in front of all of us. Like anyone who's wanting to build, all you have to do is put your ear to the ground and listen, right? Instead of talking so much.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's, one, a great approach, and two, you have a clear vision of why you chose Hedera. And at the end of the day, the possibilities on Hedera Hashgraph's network is truly endless if you think about it. And I think it's great that you see the vision behind being environmentally friendly, as well as sustainable and cost effective at the end of the day, because a network like Ethereum wouldn't necessarily be able to withstand the transactions per second like HBAR does. And so, those are great points that you provide. So, what are your plans for marketing and promoting Altlantis in the near future? I mean, we've seen a brand new layout, we've seen a brand new format and structure behind your marketing and your modeling. Are you planning on, releasing some new content, or what are some, promotional material that we could potentially soon to see?
Well, in terms, well, okay, so let me just take a step back
Sure.
and point out the fact that MRAC is not a master marketing person, never have been, not a sales guy, right? But definitely a builder. But I have brought on team members to help, fill out that skill set, and they've really opened my eyes to a number of things. Um, in terms of like a solid strategy for presence and growing that, um, the first thing I can say is that Atlantis will have a presence at the Hello Future Live event. We will have a
Nice.
booth. We will try and integrate ourselves into the experience in a number of ways. I have had a few phone calls with the organizer, right? So she asked us if we'd be able to help in specific kinds of ways, and I'm down for it. So, I've been kind of on the fence for that for a little while, but the decision's been made, flight's been booked, and we're all set now.
You're locked
So
in.
yeah, so at that event, I'll have some visual things going on, right? I'll be representing all Atlantis, of course, but also the fugitives. So I'll have some IRL pieces with me that I'll be handing out to people. Some special stuff for my fugitive holders. If I do run into any over there, I'll be pretty easy to spot. I'm going to make sure of that. But yeah, aside from that, in real life events are going to be a big part of our team's growth, right? That physical handshaking, looking someone in the eye,
Yep.
really instilling that trust factor, because we're here to stay. You know, we're not a short burn kind of a team. We're looking for sustainability, right? We're looking for scalability, and
Definitely.
we're looking to do it as much on our own as we can, right? Because we want to keep that energy exactly as it is right now, right? Like we don't mind pivoting to bring in new feature sets if enough people are asking for it, even though it wasn't on the roadmap. We did that with on-demand snapshots and airdrops, even token burning tools, mass burns, mass wipe tools, and even the music player, right? Like that came from user requests. Some stuff we're going to do as a surprise because nobody's thinking that it's doable, or that the energy or effort required would be worth it. AKA the chat room, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important to us to be able to maintain autonomy and full flexibility so we can adapt, be agile, be like water, if you would.
That's a great point, and it's very exciting to hear that you'll be at Hello Future Live. We actually just did a podcast with them about a week or two ago with Elizabeth. She's great, and so if anybody's tuning into this and would love to learn more about Hello Future Live and potentially see MRAC there, just check out our podcast down below, and we'll provide you that information that is interested, of course. And so, moving forward, outside of the marketing and the promoting strategy for Altlantis, you kind of already pivoted it you've already pivoted for me kind of in a way. Safety and security of the platform for the users, how do you plan on ensuring that within Altlantis?
Oh, certainly. That's a great question. And I know that's top of mind for just about everybody in the space. For those who aren't aware, my partner is Wency. He is actually the individual who developed Exact Wallet. He was
Nice.
the only developer that worked on Exact Wallet. And when Exact reached the end of its run, some outcomes there resulted in him leaving the project, and his partner was left holding the code and the rights to it, etc.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so he's got a lot of experience in that area and understanding the concerns, right, that people have as there would be right now, right. So what we had started doing is, we do have a wallet, which is part of our creator tool set. And that wallet was our first sort of demonstration of our attention to the security. So in that, we implemented a 2-layer encryption flow. So when you import your private key, your Hedera account private key into the wallet, what happens is your local encryption will grab that key, encrypt it, and it will then take a second encryption key off of our server and wrap it a second time. Basically, the result is you need both the Altlantis login and the mobile device to be able to access the private keys.
Makes sense.
If your device were ever to be compromised, you can log into the website and you can engage a kill switch, which will basically sever the encryption path and make it impossible to access that private key. If you log out of the app, it'll also trigger that severing, just as a precautionary measure, right? You get advised about all of this goodness. So that was our way of demonstrating, that we're taking this whole thing pretty seriously. The app architecture has many layers to it, right? We do leverage Firebase for a lot of it. We have combinations of private and public databases that are powering things just for performance points. Sometimes hitting the mirror node can be unreliable, unfortunately, right? So keeping a local store of transactional record can be helpful in the sense of this sale occurred, right? Not saying, they're in terms of the types of information that would be logged in those transactions. We're talking about wallet IDs, things that you'd be able to find off a mirror node regardless. But yeah, in that stack, encryption is from start to finish. And we have had a security review. It wasn't a full audit, right? We do have plans to engage in a full audit, but we do need to reach a certain level of funding first, right? Through the platform or NFT drops, should we do those. But yeah, security is top of mind for us. It is at the center of everything that we're doing. That's not going to change. If we're going to be here for a number of years, right? If we're planning for a 5 to 10 year run here, we have to build it as safe and secure as we possibly can. Otherwise, we're going to lose customers pretty rapidly. It doesn't take much to find a security hole in a platform like this. especially given like a lot of your crypto user base, they are quite tech savvy, right? They're used to
Yeah.
finding exploits and things. So yeah, uh, that's basically the take. Security is front and center. It's caked into every part of our development cycle, and we are going to be engaging more external reviews, right? Maybe not full CertIC level audits because we're looking at about 16K USD for that. That's quite a bit of HBAR right now, right?
Yeah, it sure is.
But we'll see. We'll see how where things go. I mean, Hashpack has been running for as long as they have without a formal audit. They just engaged one recently, I believe. Um, you know, but everyone trusts the team because they're a good group of developers, right? And
Yep.
they've never given you a reason not to trust them, right? And that's
Yeah.
it's kind of the currency that we're trying to build up towards, where it's implicit trust, right? Atlantis should be synonymous with trust.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like that you're putting security first over everything, because it's only going to ensure more trust within anybody who engages with the platform, as they know you are prioritizing security over everything. And at the end of the day, that's everything within crypto. Security can always be compromised if you're utilizing a platform that might not necessarily be as secure as you possibly think it could be. And so, instilling and ensuring that your platform is 100% secure, regardless of, a full fledged audit at this moment in time, it comes back to the people who are developing on the platform, like yourself and your partners. And it comes back to also, people willing and wanting to trust within you, and trust that you will provide as secure of a platform as possible. And so I think that's great overall.
Yeah, definitely. And
Yeah.
the other part of it too, right? Like we're all working in this space together, right? We're all sort of experimenting and exploring things together. Um, right. And if I were to come across some sort of vulnerability, I would make sure that a builder is aware of it, right? So that they can fix it. Um,
Yeah.
and I would trust the same thing would happen, coming back my way as well. That's kind of it's co-opetition is a healthy way to think about it, right? Because we don't want anyone to be compromised across the data at any point, right, or at any endpoint, any platform. And I want to take a step back too, because I spit out a lot about the security stuff, but I was actually speaking from the context and perspective of a collector, right?
Yeah.
Regarding the creator side of things, I just wanted to make sure it was noted that the entire platform is non-custodial, right? There's no holding of anything. Everything is working off of allowances, whether it's the Launchpad or the rewards platform. And the same thing will go for the marketplace. It'll all be allowance based. There will be zero custodial interaction. So we won't hold your NFTs. We won't hold your bars. We won't hold your fungible tokens. Our
Do you mind
airdrops,
explaining that a little more?
yeah,
The allowance based sort of concept?
for sure. Yeah. So Hedera, they implemented a wonderful feature that allows you to provide authority to another spender to move your assets around for you, right? So it's on a token by token basis, and you
Gotcha.
can check your active allowances in a wallet like Hashpack. They've got an allowances section that you can go and review who has been given allowances from your assets, and you can revoke the allowances right then and there should you want to. But basically, what it enables is exactly that: is you are in control of your assets. You hold your assets, right? If I'm acting as an agent on your behalf, that's fine, right? Because you've controlled the restrictions as to what I can move on your behalf, and you have the ability and the power to revoke that. So the allowance actually is proven to be quite powerful. It's not just on the NFTs though, right? It's also on your HTS tokens and on your HBAR, right? So
Yeah.
as an example of that, our staking platform is non-custodial, right? So a person, project founder who's setting up staking for their collection, they pop in and they would set how many of the tokens they want to give us an allowance to. a million, 100,000, 1,000, whatever it is. And that's all we'll be able to distribute. They can come back in later and top it up if they'd like, and we'll be able to continue distributing. But the point is, the tokens don't leave their wallets or their Hedera accounts until they're being delivered to the proper recipient's account. Never touches a middleman, and I think that's actually quite important.
Yeah.
When you think about that particular point. But yeah, no, really good on Hedera for trying to make everything possible on the layer one, right? Yeah, this move really opened doors for a lot of the builders here.
Yeah, it definitely ensures, the potential of less compromises occurring within, without having that middleman in the factor. I'm curious to know now, what are some of the challenges you have faced so far in developing Altlantis?
Well, a lot of the challenges have come from, um, I guess, misinterpreting the flow from a specific creator's mindset, or making the assumption, right, that you understand a flow. Um,
Sure.
because, yeah, there can be 99 projects that will do something one way. And then that 100th project is like, well, I want to do it this way. Um, our purpose is to make that flexibility a big part of the platform. So you should have the choice to do it that 100th way differently, if you feel it's important, right, to the image branding of your project. So continuously adapting the tools, right, to be more fluid and more agile. I'd probably say that's been the biggest challenge, but also the most fun part about what we've been doing here, right? Because it's constant rethinking, and
Yeah.
really having to put your ego into a hole, and just accepting that nothing, right, about what people are looking for, and being willing to change your perspective on what you presume to be the quote unquote right way. But yeah, that's basically yeah, that's going to
That
be what's
makes
at this
sense.
point.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be hard at all times to be able to satisfy everybody's needs, but you know, doing it to the best of your capabilities and providing everything that you can possibly do and leaving it on the table for everybody to utilize. I mean, that's your best bet at the end of the day. And it's
Mhm.
nice to know that you're, one, you're capable of overcoming these challenges. And it's just, to me personally, it's just reassuring that I can get behind somebody who's developing out a Launchpad and support them and know that one, they mean good, and two, that they have a clear vision of how to overcome and adapt specific challenges as well as new obstacles that come across their path. And so, being able to face adversity at the end of the day really goes a long way in a lot of people's eyes. And it's nice to know that you're capable of doing so.
Yeah, it's so critical to be able to take that feedback in a positive way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like even like the honest truth is, not everyone is really nice in their feedback, but it's not about you or your capability, right?
Yeah.
And I guess this is more me, like I'm talking to somebody as if they're like a junior developer or something like that. But it's really, you got to disconnect yourself from what you've built, right? It's not you. Um, you're two separate things, right? You're the facilitator of that solution, right? So when you get that feedback, you better be listening, right? Because someone's not going to waste the time to come to you with a complaint about something, or some sort of ask, unless it really means something to them, right? And that's, for me, for someone who's been doing this stuff as long as I have, um, like there's nothing more valuable than user feedback, good or bad, doesn't matter. You know,
Yeah. I'm a big fan of, allowing myself to accept all criticism, regardless of it being good or bad, like you said, because I mean, at the end of the day, positive or negative, you need to be able to absorb the criticism and then put out your best work after, taking in whatever might be criticized in a positive or negative way, and then, reanalyzing where things could be changed and whatnot. I know you have a fugitives collection out there, and I'm curious to know, where do they play in with the Altlantis Launchpad? Is there any sort of connection, correlation, or how does that intertwine?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because there is a connection, specifically with the V2 collection and Altlantis. Um, and so, if okay, so I'll explain really quickly. The Fugitives launched in November 2021. They were the first mass minted collection on Hedera. It was a 10K collection. Um, and the process was a little unique in that you can go and browse through the entire collection and purchase the ones that you wanted. If you
Wow.
bought 5 of them during the minting period, then you were gifted with a pet. So basically, anything that wasn't minted got burned, and we were left with 1,912 fugitives. Those guys and their pets, they are the primary earners of Petal, which is our utility token within the Fugitives Club. And that Petal token is what you'll use to power up your V2 Fugitive. So your V2 Fugitive starts at level 0. You can power him up all the way to level 9. And once he gets to level 9, you can put something in his hand. So typically that's going to be a pistol. And these things can also be customized, the pistols, right? So you can do things like diamond encrust them, gold plate them, etc. And once you have one of these items in your hand, you're unlocking some capabilities within Altlantis. And as an example of that, I can actually point to the live chat. Because I think I mentioned that the creator of the live event, of the sales event, they can participate in the chat, and so can people who have been purchasing NFTs from the event. Now, if you have a V2 Fugitive, you can just walk into that chat and start typing whatever you want, right?
Nice.
So that's an example of a special power, right, that you can unlock. And it's the first of many concepts and ideas within the platform. So, as a general note, I'd say the types of things that you'll unlock with your Fugitive are not things that will disrupt the playing field, right? So it won't give somebody, early access to something. It won't give them money back, right? Or like a discount. It's going to be all about fun features, right? Like either social or gaming, right? One or the other, or social
Yeah,
gaming. I want to combine the two. But it's mainly about the fun factors, right, man? It's going to be all about that. I'll give you another example because this is something we're planning. So it's not like a vaporware concept or what have you, but mini micro games. We have a desire to integrate really tiny games right into the platform. So as you're engaging with certain things, like for example, if you're browsing a list of sales events, maybe you'll get a little pop-up that'll say, hey, do you want to start this thing? And it could be pretty simple stuff. An example that I like to use is the concept of a Plinko game, right? Where if you're
yeah,
playing, you drop the thing and then it just goes down. But in the sense of there might be players of the game, but perhaps people can place wagers on a game, right? And you can see, just tapping into that kind of a concept, the Fugitive can play a really fun role there, right? So maybe you need a
definitely.
Fugitive
Yeah,
to play the game, or maybe you need a Fugitive to wager on the game. But if we did stuff like that in terms of wagers, everything would be super small. We would have caps on numbers like one HBAR, for example, like very minimal things, more about a flex and saying, yeah, I got it right, than like, patting your bag. But that's the general idea. Is the Fugitives is the fun part of things for us, where we can be way more experimental, right? And unapologetic about it. If something breaks, we can just fix it. No big deal. Nothing lost. But
definitely.
with Atlantis, we definitely have to be more business, more professional. If you
A
would,
little more
you
mindful.
got it. Yeah, yeah. Well, little more averse to risk, right? In terms of what
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
willing to
that's
push
true.
out, but I mean, we are quite experimental with Atlantis. I mean, the live chat on a Launchpad is kind of experimental. Not quite sure how it'll play out in reality, but that's part of the fun, right? To see how
Yeah,
people, adapt to it or the kinds of feedback that might come out of it. But yeah, in the beginning we weren't really promoting the idea that fugitives and Altlantis or HBAR space, if you would, were like a connected group. Over time, though, it became like an obvious decision that we needed to have some sort of integration there, especially because the only reason all this exists, being Altlantis, quote unquote, all this, is because of the fugitives, right? We wanted to get back into the speed of things. We wanted to do a token swap. We wanted a Discord bot. We wanted a staking system. So we started building all that stuff up. And then people started using our HBAR space voting system to vote up ideas like make swaps available for all creators. So that changed the dynamic, right? And sort of made us pivot. But I'm happy we did because I'm really enjoying the journey, right?
Yeah.
We're not like super profitable, but that's not the goal right now. In a couple of years that'll be different. The goal will be for profitability. But right now it's more about building out and building trust and making sure that people are aware, right? That there's, I guess, a baseline, right?
Definitely.
And I mean this in the nicest way possible, right? But if you're if you're well funded, you better be producing, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to understand, how much somebody can do with a certain amount of money, unless you see someone else doing it too, right? Or with less money.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
again, Altlantis being an alternative, I think Altlantis is going to develop into more of a symbol, right? I don't want to say a gold standard, but some sort of a standard, right?
Yeah.
Because if we can do something up to a certain level or caliber without financial backing, you better be at least at that level or higher, or maybe people will give a second look at you, and that look might not be so positive, right?
Definitely. And I mean, if you're able to do it with, very minimal cost and you're able to put forth, maximum effort and like a very, very quality product, wait till you see what you do when you get funding.
Exactly.
It's all coming out of pocket now. I mean, the possibilities are going to be truly endless when it's, funded fully through either a VC or whatever else other funding that you go for, maybe, through Hedera themselves. Um, but, I think it's great what you're doing. And I really love everything that's coming with Atlantis. And what I'd love to close off with now, Imrek, is where do you see, one, the future of HBAR NFTs? And then two, where do you see the future of Altlantis?
That's a really cool question, actually, Tate, because for me, the future of HBAR NFTs um, doesn't look very much like what NFTs are right now.
Yeah.
The future, especially like the path of growth, it is going to be into the real world, right? It's going to be
Yep.
reaching out to that Web2 community, which is massive, and trying to make
The
that Web3,
tokenization
yeah,
of real world
you got
assets.
it. That's exactly it. And honestly, Tata, like I'm already like we're already connected with a few groups that's their primary objective, right? IRL, asset tokenization, and cultural preservation, things like that. Very very awesome objectives, And let's be real, like the current model, it can only grow so far, right? Like we can't bring in the masses in this model. They won't
Yeah.
conform to this. So we need to do some adapting, right? Like we need to be agile as a community, and
Definitely.
what I love actually about Hedera and what's come out of this bear market is who's left behind, right? And who's sort of like standing shoulder to shoulder now, right? So if you take a step back and pay attention, you will find a big group of real builders, right, that are now suddenly collaborating in a way that they've never done before. That's thanks to the bear market, right? And maybe a lot of people never realize just how real a lot of these people are. I hope that they see it now, Tate. But as far as Altlantis, I'd say, man, we're going to be one of the go-to endpoints for fun on Hedera. I think the energy that we're trying to bring, it's a little more relaxed, I suppose, right? We're
Yeah,
not pumping our chests, but I'm finding a lot of people are gravitating to us. A lot of projects, that I admire, and that makes me quite happy because they're recognizing, the value in what we're bringing to the table, and that in turn just fuels us to keep going, right? I already have it in mind to be on this path for at least 5 years. My big vision is a 10-year vision. That's not something that's worth getting into because a lot changes in a decade. But
yeah,
I plan in that sort of level, right? So yeah, we're not going anywhere. We're in a continuous improvement mode. That won't change, and I do expect there to be, will be. There are some partnerships forming already, right? For different kinds of services and different kinds of things that are outside the scope of Altlantis. But I do suspect that over time, you know, things will probably circle back into that branded umbrella of Altlantis, and Altlantis will just become this. Oh, you can do this there, you can do that there, and I hope honestly that that would drive more innovation, right, from competitors, from um, new devs that will come into the space because there's
yeah,
gonna be a whole bunch of them, right? And we need that, right? We need that because we'll continuously need more alternatives. One, it's going to be
definitely.
pretty hard for one platform and one endpoint to support millions of people, right? We need many places, we need many hands, we need many bodies and many minds all working together, all building independently, in a cooperative kind of a way, right? We're not enemies. Like
Yeah,
nobody in the space, they shouldn't be looking at each other in that way. Um, and I've been pretty consistent on this messaging, right? Like the more endpoints, the better. The more builders, the better, right? The more wallets, the better, because
yep,
you're never going to be left out in the cold again, right? If the only thing that's out there available disappears suddenly, you can go somewhere else, right? That's the key, and that's what I welcome. And, every time there's a new builder, like a real builder in the space, I applaud them. I try and retweet as much as I can. um, it's important, man. It's important, you know.
yeah. It's definitely important to reciprocate, support to other various, projects who do have that same vision as yourself, as a multi-year plan. And I'll tell you what, us here at the Alt Kings, we do have that multi-year vision also. And I think it's great what you're doing. I think it's great what you're providing. And I really look forward to everything that's soon to be coming with Altlantis, as well as the fugitive NFTs. Imrak, it's been a true honor. And I'd love to end off with, the Alt Kings. We do plan on releasing our next collection on Altlantis. We do have our FTL pass, and that will come probably closer to 2024 over anything. But thank you once a time, Imrak. Oh, sorry. Thank you once again, Imrak, for taking the time to join me at the Alt Kings podcast. And if there's any closing thoughts, now would be the time to do so.
Yeah, I'd say thanks for having me, brother. Much
Of
appreciated.
course.
You've been chasing me for almost a year. We're finally here. And you know what?
Indeed, we are.
I'm looking forward to the next time we talk like this. And I'll just leave it like that. Much love, brother. Much love to everyone who's listening.
Likewise. And ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, this has been the Alt Kings podcast, and we will see you all next episode. Peace.